Well, g'day everyone, my name's Ian. It's my awesome privilege to welcome everybody to church today, especially to our kids and our families who are watching in. I hope you're all really well. Over the last 2 weeks, we've been learning about God's big story, how God is working throughout the whole Bible to bring His people into an amazing relationship with Him. In our first week, the pattern of the kingdom, we learnt that God made everything and it was really good. God's people were in the garden under God's amazing rule and His amazing blessing. But then last week, we learnt that sin happened, didn't it? We learned about the perished kingdom. God's people were kicked out of the garden and things weren't good. And one day, as a result of that, God's people would die because of their sin. It wasn't good at all. Well, would God leave it there? The good news is, no. God decided to jump in and do something. And that is what we're going to learn about today as we look at the promised kingdom. And we learn about some of the promises that God made to Abraham. Let's take a look and find out a little bit more. Things had just kept on getting worse and worse as time went on. Sin's influence was everywhere. After Adam and Eve were kicked out of the garden, their sons had problems with sin too. Cain killed Abel. And then things got so bad that God started over again with the flood. God saved Noah, but sin was still there. And then after that, lots of people built the Tower of Babel. They wanted to be like God, and so God changed their languages and spread them out everywhere. You would think that God's patience was finally going to run out, and He was going to say enough is enough, and that His judgment was going to come. But out of nowhere, right at the start of Genesis chapter 12, we meet an old guy named Abraham. Well, his name was actually Abram at that time, but God changed it later on. And Abraham was going to be the one who was going to start God's solution to sin. One day, God spoke to Abraham. Abraham, leave your home and go. I'm going to give you a land. I'm going to make you the father of a great nation, and I'm going to make the whole world be blessed through you. Abraham was amazed. 3 massive promises that God gave him. Abraham had 2 options. He could say, whatever God, that's not going to happen. Or he could say, you know what God? Awesome. I'm going to trust you. Well, luckily he did the second. He trusted God. He packed up everything he owned and he and his wife Sarah left, just as God had told him. Abraham was 75 years old when this happened. A little while later, God spoke to Abraham again. God said, Abraham, don't be worried. Well, why was Abraham worried? He was worried because he didn't have any children yet. Both he and Sarah were really old. So God took Abraham out and showed him the stars in the sky. Look up at the sky and see the stars. Count them if you can. That's how big your family will be, as many as there are stars in the sky. Abraham looked at the stars, and even though he had no children, he believed God. Years and years went by, but still Abraham and Sarah had no children. One day, when they were both very old, 3 visitors came and ate with Abraham and Sarah. Abraham and Sarah quickly prepared them some food. Sarah gave the men their food and quickly went back to the tent. One of the visitors said, by this time next year, your wife Sarah will have a son. Now Sarah was listening and Sarah laughed to herself. She was too old to have children. The visitor turned to Sarah and asked, Sarah, why did you laugh? Is anything too hard for God? And 1 year later, just as the visitor had said, Sarah and Abraham, when they were really old, had a baby boy. You see, nothing was impossible for God. God's beautiful world was ruined by sin, but God decided to bless the world again through a man named Abraham. God promised that Abraham would be the start of a great nation, and that's exactly what happened. God promised Abraham a family would be given to him. And that's exactly what happened. And God promised Abraham a land all of his own. And that's exactly what happened. God promised that the whole world would be blessed through Abraham's family. And that's exactly what happened. Well, why is that? Because Jesus was part of Abraham's family. The blessing that God gave through Jesus is to fix up the problem of sin. Jesus removed the problem of sin the day that he died on the cross. And we are amazingly blessed because of the great victory over sin that Jesus won. How about I pray and give thanks to God for his amazing blessings in Jesus. Let me pray. Dear God, thank you so much that you haven't left us alone in sin. Thank you for the promises that you gave to Abraham. And thank you that Jesus gives us the amazing blessing of sins forgiven. Please help us be thankful that you are faithful to your promises and Jesus died and rose again for us. Amen. Well, that's not all. Our amazing kids leaders have been hard at work getting video ready for church online today. So it's all up online on our kids' YouTube page. So why not after church, take dad and mum by the hand and have them come to kids' church with you guys. We'll see you all next week. Bye.